You know how sometimes you're looking at world events and things happening far apart just seem disconnected. But then maybe you find a thread, a connection that kind of makes you look at the whole picture differently.
Oh, it really happens all the time.
Well, today we're digging into one of those connections. It's the growing partnership between Venezuela and Iran.
Right. And this isn't just like a casual thing.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
It feels like more than just trade deals. It's becoming, well, strategic here in South America. And honestly, it feels like something we probably all need to get a better handle on.
For sure. We've been looking through some expert analysis on this. Specifically, we pulled some key insights from a YouTube presentation by someone called Professor HOC.
Okay.
Yeah, trying to piece together a clearer view for everyone listening. The idea is really to cut through the noise, you know?
Yeah, pull out the core stuff.
Exactly. Highlight what this partnership really means, how deep it might go, and frankly, what the potential risks are for stability in the region. It's definitely something that should be on your radar.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. This relationship, it didn't just spring up overnight, did it? Where are the historical roots?
Well, the very first connection actually goes way back, I think 1960s, OPEC.
Ah, oil.
Right. Both Venezuela and Iran were founding members, along with Iraq, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. So right from the start, you had this shared interest in oil policy market stuff.
Makes sense. A common ground in oil. But the analysis you looked at from Professor HOC, it pointed out that things really, intensified much more recently.
Precisely. The really significant deepening, that happened in the 2000s. You had Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in Iran.
Right, I remember that period.
And their connection, it started to go beyond just oil. They found common cause in this pretty strong anti-American sentiment.
A shared ideology, almost.
Yeah, you could say that. A shared sort of resistance to what they saw as, U.S. dominance on the world stage.
And did that shared viewpoint lead to more than just, speeches and handshakes?
Oh, definitely. That political alignment was the foundation for, literally hundreds of bilateral commercial agreements between them.
Hundreds? Wow.
Yeah, it kicked off a period of pretty significant economic projects trying to build more interdependence.
Okay, but the professor's analysis also highlighted a shift, maybe more recently, something potentially more concerning, moving into military cooperation.
Yes, that's the really noteworthy part. Now, this evolution beyond just trade deals into actual tangible military and strategic links.
Okay.
This is newer, and it carries, much bigger implications for the region's security than just economic agreements. We're seeing concrete stuff happening.
Like the joint drone factory that you mentioned at the Libertador Air Base. That definitely caught my eye. Why is that so significant?
Yeah, that's a really key development because it's not just buying weapons, it's about transferring the technology, the ability to produce advanced weaponry locally in Venezuela.
Oh.
So for listeners, understanding that drone factory means recognizing, a real escalation. You've got advanced military tech from a country under heavy sanctions now being made in South America. That changes the security math for the whole region.
And we're not talking about simple hobby drones, are we? The Zamora, based on the Iranian Shahed, what are those like?
Correct. These aren't basic. They are producing drones, including this Venezuelan version, the Zamora, which, as you said, is based on the Iranian Shahed.
And the Shahed is the one we've seen used heavily in.
In the Ukraine conflict, yes. They've gained a lot of notoriety there. These drones, they have capabilities like pretty long-range precision targeting, so making them locally is a major step up for Venezuela's military capability.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, maybe a bit worrying. Who's actually running this factory? Is it just Venezuelan teams?
No. And this is crucial. The analysis points to the Quds Force operating the factory.
The Quds Force, that's the
foreign operations arm of Iran's Revolutionary Guard.
Yeah.
Think of them as Iran's sort of expeditionary force, operating outside normal military channels often.
Right, known for supporting proxies and, asymmetric warfare in places like Syria.
Exactly. So their direct involvement here, running a drone factory in Venezuela, that signals a much deeper and potentially more destabilizing Iranian presence and agenda in the region.
So the Quds Force being there, that suggests maybe more than just building drones. What else could they be up to?
That's a good question. I mean, where you find the Quds Force, you often see the influence of Hezbollah nearby.
And Hezbollah has connections in Venezuela already, right?
Yes, they've had a presence there for a while, apparently with ties to the government. So you start to see this network forming, potentially linking various actors.
So beyond the hardware, the drones, we might be looking at things like training, spreading influence. How does that actually work on the ground?
Precisely. Professor HOC also highlighted the Quads Force potentially being involved in training Maduro's Bolivarian militias.
Ah, the militias. Okay.
Yeah. And if you think about the bigger picture, that kind of strategy, building up and training loyal paramilitary forces, it's a classic tactic for authoritarian regimes, isn't it?
Right. To consolidate power, maintain control outside the regular army, maybe?
Exactly. It bypasses the traditional military chain of command sometimes.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. The professor also talked about technical help in the oil sector, but it sounds like that hasn't exactly been smooth sailing.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, isn't it? Venezuela, sitting on massive oil reserves, but its industry is struggling badly. And the technical help from Iran seems to have, well, in some cases, actually made things worse.
The oil spill in November 2024 near the Amoy refinery, that was mentioned as a big example. What went wrong there?
Right, November 2024, a really significant spill in the Paraguana Peninsula near Amoy, which is a huge critical refinery complex.
Okay.
Initially, reports suggested they tried to downplay it, but what's really concerning is the suggestion that PDVSA, that's the state oil company.
Yeah, PDVSA.
They apparently brought in Iranian technicians to help clean it up.
Yeah.
But, and this is the disturbing part, there are indications these technicians might have already been operating the facility and could have actually caused the spill.
Wait, caused it? Seriously?
Yeah.
That's troubling. What was the impact?
Well, significant environmental damage, obviously, hit the local ecosystems, the fishermen's livelihoods in that area. But maybe even more alarming, Professor HOC's analysis suggested there have been about 25 similar incidents across Venezuela since then.
25.
Yeah, also involving PDVSA and this Iranian technical assistance. So it raises serious questions about how effective this help is and what the risks really are.
And it's not just an internal Venezuelan issue, is it? Neighbors are watching this.
That's right. Countries nearby, like Panama and Colombia, have apparently expressed concern about this growing Iranian involvement, especially in a sector as vital as oil and the potential spillover effects, environmentally and economically.
This feels like it fits into a bigger global picture. Professor HOC used the phrase axis of dictatorships. What does that mean in this context?
Yeah, if you zoom out, look at the broader geopolitics. The Venezuela-Iran link can be seen as part of this trend, where nations often described as authoritarian, think Russia, China, North Korea, are finding common ground.
How so?
Well, often in challenging, established international rules or Western influence, it's maybe less a formal, signed on the dotted line alliance and more about, overlapping interests and pushing back against pressures they all face.
Does Venezuela's recent, more aggressive talk and actions towards Guyana over the Essequibo territory, does that connect here?
It very possibly could. Venezuela pushing hard on the Essequibo issue might be partly, emboldened by feeling like they have backing from these other global players.
Like they have powerful friends.
Potentially, yeah. It might make them more willing to take actions that could be seen as destabilizing if they feel they won't be totally isolated.
And we also have to factor in the internal situation in Venezuela itself, right? The politics there.
Absolutely. Professor HOC touched on that too, the contested elections, Maduro consolidating power. This internal situation, questions about democratic legitimacy, it probably makes the regime more reliant on outside partners like Iran for support, both political and economic, which just strengthens those ties further.
So for Brazil, sharing that long border, being a major power in the region, what are the specific worries?
Oh, the implications for Brazil are pretty significant. You've got the potential for spillover from any instability, refugees, cross-border crime, which is already an issue.
Right.
And then there's the possibility, however remote, of Venezuelan military movements near that border with Guyana, which could potentially involve crossing through Brazilian territory. That's a huge security headache, especially given how vast and difficult the Amazon border area is to patrol.
Let's dig into how they're managing sanctions. This gold for oil swap was mentioned. How does that actually work on the ground?
Yeah, that's a really critical piece of this partnership, helping each other get around international sanctions. Both countries face massive economic restrictions, right? So they've figured out ways to keep trading. The gold for oil thing is a classic example. Venezuela basically sends physical gold to Iran.
Actual gold?
Apparently, yes. And in return, Iran sends Venezuela crude oil, or maybe more importantly, refined products like gasoline, which they desperately need. It's essentially a barter system, avoids using banks and the formal financial system that's blocked by sanctions.
And the airline reportedly used to fly this gold, Mahan Air, It's already sanctioned itself, isn't it?
Exactly. Mahan Air is under U.S. sanctions. So using them just shows how far both sides are willing to go, engaging with already restricted entities to keep this trade flowing.
So where does this Venezuelan gold end up? What's it used for?
Well, according to the analysis we looked at, part of the purpose of this gold is to help finance the Quds Force operations.
Ah, back to the Quds Force.
Yeah, funding their activities, which, as we said, includes supporting various militant groups. And in return, Venezuela gets that vital fuel to keep things running somewhat.
Professor HSC also brought up some really serious claims about drug trafficking and potential Iranian involvement there. That sounds intense.
Yes, and this is obviously a very concerning dimension. There are credible reports, investigations linking people high up in Maduro's government to large-scale drug trafficking.
Right, those allegations have been around.
But Professor HOC suggested the possibility that Iran might be involved in the sort of logistics, distribution, maybe money laundering related to these drug operations.
Wow.
Yeah, it paints a picture of well, the analysis basically described it as potentially a government acting like a criminal organization teaming up with another state that has its own criminal and, frankly, terrorist links. It's a very troubling mix.
Okay, switching back to the political side for a moment.
Yeah.
There was a report in 2022 about Venezuela offering refuge to Iranian leaders if their regime fell. That seems significant.
It really does. That report, if accurate, speaks volumes about the level of trust and strategic depth in their relationship, offering a safe haven like that. It suggests they see this partnership as very long-term, going beyond just current politics.
It implies a really deep connection.
Absolutely. A profound level of interconnectedness.
And the Iranian ambassador in Venezuela, Soltani, the analysis suggested he has unusual influence, almost acting like a Venezuelan minister.
Indeed. That was another point raised. Ambassador Soltani reportedly has a lot of sway, involved in high-level talks, even getting involved in key sectors like military stuff, communications, energy.
So really embedded in the system.
His level of access seems quite extraordinary, highlighting just how much influence Iran might wield within the Venezuelan state.
And it seems even those repeated oil spills haven't really put a dent in this cooperation, have they?
Apparently not. That's what's striking. Professor HOC noted that even after all those oil incidents and the environmental issues, Ambassador Soltani met with Iran's defense minister and Venezuela's vice president as recently as November 2024.
Still talking collaboration.
Still talking collaboration, yeah. It suggests that whatever the strategic goals of this alliance are, they're outweighing the concerns about technical screw-ups or environmental damage.
So when we pull all these threads together, the picture that emerges is pretty concerning, isn't it? Escalating threats, potential instability.
It really is. You've got this combination of Venezuelan government that's seen as weakened, potentially corrupt, with alleged deep ties to organized crime.
Right.
And it's forging this incredibly strong partnership with Iran, a state designated by some as a sponsor of terrorism. That combination, it just significantly ramps up the risks for the whole region and maybe beyond.
It kind of elevates local crime issues onto a geopolitical stage.
Exactly. It's not just local gangs anymore. It potentially links those activities to state actors with broader, maybe more dangerous agendas.
And for Brazil, sharing that border, having regional leadership responsibilities, it seems particularly exposed.
Yes. Brazil already faces huge challenges with organized crime on its borders, especially the northern border.
Which is vast and difficult.
Immense. And this alliance could potentially make those existing security problems even worse. Then you add Venezuela's military movements near Roraima, the difficulty of monitoring the Amazon. It's a complex set of challenges for Brazil.
And finally, just to underline it, that Iranian drone production inside Venezuela, that's not just some small detail, is it?
Not at all. It really needs to be emphasized. Setting up drone manufacturing there, it's a tangible physical sign of an escalating threat. It means the spread of advanced military tech into a potentially volatile region.
And the growing influence of Iran, a country known for backing non-state groups.
Exactly. It has the real potential to shift the military balance in South America in some significant ways down the line.
So wrapping this up, for you, the listener, the really critical takeaway from this deep dive seems to be that this Venezuela-Iran partnership, it's deep, it's growing, and it's got many facets.
Precisely. It's a major evolving challenge for regional stability. It goes way beyond just, trading goods. It's military, it's strategic. It might even involve criminal activities linking the two.
It definitely makes you think about the wider consequences. Like, how does this alliance change the power dynamics here in South America?
Yeah.
What are the long-term security risks, especially for neighbors like Brazil?
Right. And maybe a final thought to leave people with is this. Could we be looking at sort of a new front line for global power struggles playing out right here in South America's backyard? And what might be the consequences, maybe ones we haven't even thought of yet as this alliance continues to develop? It's definitely a complex situation and one worth keeping a close eye on as we all try to understand international relations and how they impact security closer to home.